we want to offer that to our kids. They want to follow. They want someone to help them figure things out. They want to know that we can figure stuff out, but not because mom said so and I'm the boss, but from a compassionate space.
Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Hey, everybody. So glad you're here today. You're in for a treat. I was going through the archives of things I've taught in the past, and I found this call that I taught a while ago about confidence and rejection and creating a parenting life manifesto. I have tons of questions in this episode, so get a piece of paper out and either pause as you listen to it and answer the questions, or listen to it again and then answer the questions if you want to get the most out of this episode. I'm so on fire about what's happening inside of League right now, both inside the parenting pivot that's currently going and those who are in mastery, which is the next phase. After you finish the pivot, you can graduate up to mastery. Some amazing stuff is happening, fantastic wins, lots of implementation, lots of shifts. Just today, somebody popped on office hours and was sharing how after working on the 3 strategies, cleaning up her own mind, understanding her brain, her behavior, her nervous system, intentionally connecting and learning how to respond with connection instead of correction, that her teenager, and this is interesting because a lot of people come to me and say, well, my kids are too old. I've messed up for too long. They're not going to get over it. Or it's irreparable, unfixable. In the group right now, over and over again, I'm hearing stories where kids of all ages, but I'm calling out the older kids because that's where moms sometimes get stuck thinking it's too late. So many examples of older kids that are softening up, listening better. The parents are having an incredible shift in their perspective of the child, which is shifting everything. It's just incredible. It's so fun. So in this episode, I dive into some meat, some really just good, meaty stuff. So this is the level of stuff I would be teaching in my group, but I'm sharing it on the podcast because everybody needs it. So you're going to get a taste of it. If you want help diving into it deeper, you should think about applying to join our next 8-week parenting pivot, which is coming up if you're listening to this live in a couple of months in October. And that is the way you can get help to take these principles, this knowledge where you know better and actually do better. So enjoy this episode. It's a live call that's being replayed here on the podcast. Show up like a student, learn from the Connect Method parenting principles and exercises that we go through. It's gonna be a good one, you all. All right, let's get to the episode.
Welcome, everybody. I had so many ideas about what I wanted to talk about today. And I think I'm going to talk. Gosh, I love it. I love all your comments. It's been a good morning. It was a hard night. Owed apology to my kids. Yes, recognizing that. Stephanie, I just have a follow-up question for you. How are you feeling about that this morning? Is there judgment, or are you just curious about it? That would be interesting for me to hear. I'm glad you brought that up. Such a great question, such a great scenario, because it happens to all of us. We have the best of intentions, and yet situations present themselves, and sometimes we get a little bit thrown off, or we don't stay at our highest level of how we can respond to our kids. So let me read what you just said. Stephanie says, I have diverted into old behaviors, yelling. I stay 3/4 atop the anger mountain these days. Yeah, that's good. That's good to just be aware of it. My follow-up question is, as you are right now in this moment, you're thinking about, hey, I'm slipped back into some old behaviors. Maybe I'm yelling a little bit more. I'm feeling a little bit more angry. How am I now at this moment able to look at that? Because there's so much power in being able to look at it with curiosity and taking a step away from the judgment that a lot of us have. I'm the queen of beating myself up. It takes a lot of intentional effort to look at it with curiosity and to actually really honor the fact that that was the best I could do in that moment because of how my nervous system was, because of all the situations, the behaviors, all of the things that were happening at the moment, to give myself permission to be at peace with that. That was the best I could do. And I'd like to do better in the future. But when we can come at it from this place of curiosity, if that was the best I could do, and I want to really understand what was happening with my brain, I want to understand what situations set my nervous system into an activated mode, we can learn so much so that we can move forward. That's the power of self-coaching or getting coaching on a call like this. Either way, we need both, to be honest, because then we're not beating ourselves up when we're judging and we shouldn't have done that. It was so terrible of me. when we go into that mode, we're going into fight or flight mode against ourselves, which prevents us from having the learning that we want to have if we want to change it for next time. So give yourself permission to be kind about it. And it segues perfectly into, and if you have anything else to say about that, or if anybody else can relate, and you're like, oh yeah, I totally get that. Or that's really hard for me when I go back into old behaviors, or when I'm just still stuck in old behaviors of yelling, of trying to correct, of trying to, or beating myself up, or not feeling confident. If you can relate, you can type it in the Q&A too. I see some people saying, yeah, me too. And it goes right into what I wanted to start with today, which is self-confidence. Because when we have a high level of self-confidence, we can experience life's ups and downs without making it personal. So one of the ways I like to think about emotions, which are the things that come up. Yeah, you guys, I'm getting like lots of definitely relate. This is totally me. Yeah, this is going to be a powerful call then for you guys, because we want to be able to give ourselves permission to be humans, to experience the highs and lows of our emotional state, of our nervous system, of us evolving and changing, and still retain a confidence about ourselves that's not arrogant. Sometimes we get confused and we think, oh, if I'm really confident, then I'm going to not learn, I'm not going to grow, I'm arrogant, I'm not looking honestly at my behavior, and it's none of that. Self-confidence seems to be what all of us want. And we want self-confidence in parenting specifically so that stuff like what we're talking about right here is open to us to learn and grow from. Nelson Mandela said something like, I never fail, I only learn or grow, something like that. And I love that mantra. I love that idea. I love living by that statement because it allows me to never be defined by anything. With emotions, what I did not complete, I was starting to go down this loop. I wanted to talk to you guys about that really quick, or remind you guys all about this idea of we have emotions or we have experiences. We are not the experience. We are not the emotion. And in English, we say things like, I am frustrated. In French, they say it more like, I have frustration. And I have been trying really hard for the last few years to get myself in a place where I just have this and it's momentarily, it's like a cloud passing over the sky. I'm the blue sky. And sometimes the clouds pass through. The clouds are always passing through. And even if they're stormy and dark and cause some rainfall, which we might love, or we might be really inconvenient, we're here to experience in all of it. And we know ultimately the clouds are passing through. They are not the sky. We never are. I guess the sky is now a bunch of clouds and it's never coming back. We know that the sky is blue. Just like we know that we are at our calmest, best state, we are loving and kind and worthy, and we can be confident in that. And that doesn't lead us to deceive ourselves or to feel like we're not going to learn and grow. It actually allows more of that. So self-confidence, something all of us want. And what is it? I want to ask you guys, what is it about self-confidence that makes it an attractive feeling? Think of it in parenting. Like, why would that be helpful? Why would being confident be a way of being an ultimate identity trait that you want? Why? So take a second and think about that. What would be possible if we're confident as we go through reverting back to old behaviors? Maybe the kids change. I feel like as my kids get older, as they grow up a little bit, or they, things change with them, then I have to be applying everything to a new situation. And sometimes it goes smoothly. And sometimes there's a lot of evaluation that I need to take into my heart and just be like, okay, that was really interesting. Didn't love that. So self-confidence instructs people how to think about you. It instructs people how to think about you. If you show people that you are well-liked and respected, they're likely to follow suit. So we teach people how to treat us by how we treat ourselves. Does that make sense? So this goes with our kids too. If we treat ourselves kindly, if we believe in ourselves, we are showing up with that energy. We're showing up with that way of being. And we're saying, hey, this is how you can treat me too. Like, we're setting the example. Self-confidence makes it easy for people to like us. It suggests leadership. As humans, we're a pack animal. We want to find the leader. We want to follow her. Self-confidence is one of the traits of a leader. And when someone is in a leadership space, if they're showing up and they're like, got this, I'm going to figure this out. This is what we get when we're curious. If we're beating ourselves up, we're not showing up as powerful leaders to our children or to ourselves. But when we are curious, I'm looking, I'm inspecting, I'm growing, then our kids are like, wow, they can sense that. They are more likely to listen to us. They're more likely to follow us. They're more likely to want to emulate us. And I want you to think about it in other examples where you have someone in your life and they're showing up with I would say, like compassionate confidence, self-confidence. They're compassionate, they're kind, they have this loving kindness energy around them, but they're also very confident in themselves. We naturally gravitate, we feel safe. And neurologically speaking, We are a pack animal genetically, and we do want leaders to follow us. And when we have someone that's in a leadership position, we really do feel like they can figure this out. They have my best interest in mind. Our nervous system can relax because we can trust that someone else is going to help make the situation safe. So that's another reason why we want to offer that to our kids. They want to follow. They want someone to help them figure things out. They want to know that we can figure stuff out, but not because mom said so and I'm the boss, but from a compassionate space. So we want them to want to follow us and to want to listen to us. And so that doesn't come with us being arrogant or being avoidant. It comes from us being confident in ourselves and our abilities. It doesn't mean we're perfect. Okay, let's read what you guys said. Stephanie says, yes, it was the best I could do. But today I realized that I took my adult problems into the kids, not cleaning up their messes. The kids not cleaning up after themselves was annoying, but I didn't have to react in that manner. I really need to do a thought download. Yes, I would really recommend doing a thought download on it. If you can do it from a place of compassionate curiosity, it's going to yield a lot of growth, a lot of insight. I was just doing this about something I was writing and just dumping. And it was so amazing what I saw when I could look at what I wrote down through the lens of this is all going to help me do better next time. And in here you said, I should have, where did you write that? I should have something. Anyway, there was something, I can't even see it now. Shouldn't have done it or something. Anytime you catch yourself using the word should, I would just be like, no, I couldn't have done better in the moment. That was the best I could do. Why was I throttled there? Keep thinking, keep responding, Stephanie, as more thoughts come up. But a thought download would be great. So Natalie says, Andy, this is why you have taken the cake above and beyond all other parenting books. Thank you. And therapists for me, because you're the first person that validates parents in their weaknesses. Yes. Thank you. I'm glad you're hearing that. I hope everyone's hearing that. It's okay to be where we are. It's okay to love where we are and even to get curious about where we are. Most say it's important for kids to receive this from their parents, but if the parents can't learn to be gentle and accepting of themselves first, despite weaknesses, is definitely a prerequisite for loving our kids and their weaknesses. Confidence equals not wasting time with doubt and shame. It's way more effective and efficient. I love those insights. Thanks, Natalie, for making those comments. Yeah, the only way we can validate our kids is if we validate ourselves. And the better we get at validating ourselves, the more confident we're going to be. So self-confidence exudes positivity, and that's attractive. We love to be around people who help us feel better. So self-confident people have positive thoughts about themselves, which in turn create positive thoughts towards others. Isn't that so great? So as you look at the last thing you did that maybe you're like, that wasn't exactly where I want to be. And if you can just exude positive energy, curiosity, and be like, oh, it's so fascinating, that grows your ability to do that towards yourself. And just think what you're going to be able to offer your kids when they have what they might call a mess up or a failure or a meltdown. You've practiced doing it to yourself, which is the first place we have to do it, validate and love myself where I am. Now I can be that for my kids. And that is so great for their nervous system. So self-confidence is based on our mindset. And there is a difference between confidence and self-confidence. Confidence can be specific to a practiced skill or talent. Self-confidence is this overall mindset about your ability in all areas of life that matter to you. So a growth mindset breeds self-confidence. A fixed mindset relies on external input. Does that make sense? Let me say that again. A growth mindset breeds self-confidence. So when I say growth mindset, that would include the feelings and attributes of curiosity, of compassion, of empathy, of believing we're doing the best we can. Those are the kind of thoughts like, I believe I was doing the best I can. I really want to get curious about this. I want to do better next time. And the ingredients to doing better next time are inside this situation where I didn't hit my max capacity for love. But it's not because there's anything wrong with me. It was just like, what are the circumstances? What are the thoughts? What are the things that were going on that led me to be throttled there? And I'm committed. That's another thing that breeds self-confidence. I'm committed to figuring it out, but from a place of just abundance. I know it's in here. It's just being throttled by my nervous system or some traumatic event that happened or some lack of sleep or me not feeling well. So a growth mindset breeds self-confidence. A fixed mindset relies on external input. So it's externally, what is happening outside of me? And another way, really quickly, I want to just say this, hopefully one of these will click with you, is when we are in a growth mindset, that's when we believe we have this emotion. I had the thought, I had this belief that, whatever it is, I have something instead of I am something. A fixed mindset is I am unkind. I should have done something differently. This should not have happened. That's this fixed mindset. So fixed traits can also be natural talents. I'm just naturally not a patient person, or I am a patient person. Intelligence, beauty, heritage, like typically that's what we call fixed traits. These things we can't change. It is what it is. That keeps us stuck. And that goes back to I am just a frustrated person. I have lack of whatever it is, like I am. And we really define ourselves by these things that are unchangeable. A fixed mindset sees failing at something as an expression of a character or trait flaw. I don't know how many moms, when my kids were little and I was homeschooling them, they'd be like, oh, I just could never do that because I'm just not patient. Oh my gosh, I'm like, you don't understand. Neither was I. I just learned it through being home with them and having to be forced to deal with this stuff. So this idea we have patience or we don't. We have unconditional love or we don't. We have the ability to handle the tantrum or we don't. Fixed versus growth. So growth mindset thrives on challenges, and it sees failure not as evidence of unintelligence or not being capable, but as a springboard for growth and for stretching our existing abilities. So what is your belief about your capacity? I want everybody to honestly answer that right now. What is your belief about your capacity to love? And I want you to be honest. There's going to be a part of us that wants to give the right answer or the one that's the best. But where we're going to get the most growth is when we're honest with ourselves and we're like, actually, there's part of me that wonders if I'm going to be able to get through this. There's part of me that thinks maybe I can't handle whatever it is. Where is your belief? Where's your cap? Where's your brain at right now? Do you believe it's fixed, or do you believe you can grow and learn how to do anything? Is failure just feedback? That's what I love to think about. It's just feedback. And when I fail, someone offered to me doubt, but I think failure goes along with it. They said, whenever I feel doubt, and I would include failure or frustration or I'm uncomfortable, that just means I'm absolutely on the right track, which is 100% true when we can use that as feedback instead of as evidence that there's something terribly wrong with us and we're never going to change. Self-confidence is a feeling we need to develop, a capability that we can develop, and therefore external confidence in our ability through practice and repetition. Let me say that again. So self-confidence is a feeling we need to develop. It helps us develop the capability to be able to do whatever we want, to take action, to fail, and to learn. So when you take action, you either do or do not get the result you want. Those are really the only two options. So I'm either going to get what I'm hoping or I'm not. That's it. It's not that scary. It feels really scary in our brains, but it really doesn't have to be that scary. So if we can look at it, like every time I go wake my kids up in the morning, or I try to have a conversation with them that's kind and loving, or they're fighting in the other room and I'm going to go in there and take action and try to do something about it, they're going to get the result I want, or I'm going to get the result I don't want. Either way works. Either way I learn. You always learn what works and what doesn't work. And this increases your capacity, your capability by practicing and getting better. If we aren't taking action, we are moving away from self-confidence. We're failing what I like to call ahead of time. I'm not sure I can do this. I'm going to avoid trying to create something new with my kids, or I'm going to avoid using this new way of asking them to do their chores or something. And as a result, we fail to take action on this plan that will create more connection. And as a result, we don't have this strategic byproduct of the action we take. Whether we fail or succeed, the byproduct of going and taking the effort and taking the action is going to be there either way. Both can be equally beneficial. Failing sometimes is the best thing that can happen to us. Accidentally slipping back into old patterns can be the best catalyst for our growth, to take it to a whole new level, to solidify the things we've been working on even deeper. So that's what happens when we look at it from a place of growth, from a place of I was doing my best. I never fail. I always learn and grow. So failing ahead of time, we don't even engage, or when we beat ourselves up, which I think is failing ahead of time. Because if we are, I'm terrible, and we're just get caught in judgment, which we might for a little bit. I still sometimes will get caught in judgment about myself and then be like, wait, stop, pause, interrupt. That's like me not actually using the raw materials from this experience to help me do better. I'm just going to get stuck in this messiness of it. So we want to go in and evaluate and learn and grow from it, be honest, because that allows us to move forward. When we don't do that, when we don't get curious, we don't do the thought download, when we don't do our steers, then we don't get to have the benefit of learning. It doesn't catapult us. It's failing ahead of time, which teaches us nothing. Spinning in confusion, indulging in it for a long time and really beating ourselves up. Most of us have been there. We've been there, done that. Me, I've done that. And I don't get better the next time. I just keep spinning because my identity, my evidence that I'm collecting for myself of who I am is just not being capable. I'm feeling like I'm not confident in my ability. So if we're going to fail, let's make sure we fail by taking massive action and learning from anything that happens, whether it worked or didn't work, learning rather than by doing nothing and trying to just stay comfortable. Our bodies will want us to just do the same old thing because it says we survived last time we yelled, or last time when the kids fought and we just grounded them, or we just didn't, I don't like the kids fighting, but I don't want to try these new ideas to go connect with them but beforehand and in the middle of it, because that feels really uncomfortable when we try to stay comfortable. And this is unintentional. Don't beat yourself up for this. This is subconscious. Our brains likes to do the same things it's been doing because it just has a lot of evidence saying we've done this before and we didn't die. So let's just keep doing it. But it's not the best thing for your growth or your relationships or your parenting. So I want you to look at your failures and see that they're the exact thing that you need. And failure, I use loosely because I don't even love that word, but our brains are so conditioned to use that word. But our mess ups, our failures, things that didn't go the way we wish they would have gone, and realize that all of those are perfect for us. They get us somewhere, and use them to increase our self-confidence. So here are some thoughts I'm going to offer you guys that you can use exactly like this. You can just copy and paste these for yourself, or you can use them to maybe inspire you to create some more for yourself. But I would love you to think about some thoughts you want to have about yourself in the regards to how you're showing up as a parent in life, because really who you are as a person is going to decide if you can do connect method parenting, really, like how your nervous system is, how you're treating yourselves, all these things like we always talk about. So here's some good thoughts. I believe in my ability to get the result I want, no matter how long it takes, how many times I fail, or what I need to learn. That is so good. I'm going to say that one more time because it's so good. I believe in my ability to get this result, fill in the blank, your goal that you have with parenting, no matter how long it takes, how many times I have to fail, or what I need to learn. How about this one? I enjoy making the impossible happen. If you have a goal that feels a little out of reach, oh my gosh, it doesn't feel possible, just practice believing, what would my life be like? What would I be feeling? Put these into a steer, right? If your thought was, I enjoy making the impossible happen, what would you be feeling about yourself, about your kids, about the situation? Here's another one. Why not? I see no reason why I can't create something spectacular if I keep trying with all my heart and mind. That's a beautiful thought, especially when something hasn't gone the way our brain said it should have gone. I don't see any way I can't create something spectacular if I just keep going and trying with all my heart and mind. So failure is the way to success. I love this one. Another version of that is discomfort is the currency to success. So self-confidence creates amazing success. Here's what might get in the way is thinking, I can't. My kids already have this perception of me. They believe I'm not very kind, or they believe I'm really impatient. Those are the thoughts that are going to get in the way of it. They don't believe in me, or I don't believe in myself. Like, bring out the thoughts that won't help you create your self-confidence. Stephanie says, I can learn to do anything I set my mind to. I love unconditionally. So good. Stephanie also said, I am trying to look at the best in myself and feeling myself the way I feed others by looking at the best in them, complimenting them. I need to do that with myself. I feel inferior to other people, even though I know I am doing amazing things today compared to where I started 2 years ago. Exactly. Yeah. Whatever kind things and compliments we would say to other people, can we practice saying that to ourselves? Going to feel uncomfortable at first, but you want the strategic byproduct of taking the action that feels uncomfortable. So do it. Writing all of the things you appreciate about yourself, or even just one a day to feed that ability to feel and compliment and really build yourself up would be powerful. So good. Okay, so here's an exercise I want you to do. I want you to, now that we talked about it, well, I'm not going to give you enough time to do it on the call, but this is your homework. Define self-confidence for yourself, your definition of it. This could be woven into the definition, but as you're thinking about that, like, where does self-confidence come from? Do you have a lot of it? Why or why not? Why do you want it? What is the best way to get more of it? What thoughts do you have now preventing it? This is good. You got to look at the thoughts that are getting in the way. So what thoughts are preventing me from feeling self-confident? Do you have any fears about being self-confident and the success you will create with it? Sometimes we have these weird limiting beliefs. It's, I can't be that, even though it's this beautiful thing of more love and kindness and connection with our kids. There's something inside of us that's holding us back. So what might you have there that's holding you back from really stepping into that? You need to look at the results you have in your life that you don't want and write them down. What is the result you want to create? And how will self-confidence help you get there? That's so good. So take some time. I know I read those quickly. Okay, so think about the self-confidence. I want you to do that work this week, be really powerful for you in a very calm, curious way. So now I want to talk about rejection, because I think as parents, rejection is one of the things that we do, especially as the kids get older, but even when they're little, there's this innate desire inside of us as humans to not have rejection. Rejection is really difficult. Rejection can look like someone not texting right back, a child rolling their eyes, our husband or spouse or partner not helping the way we want them to, or we ask them to help and they're not available or something like that. So this fear of rejection is a primitive fear, and it keeps us stuck, keeps us in a cave. It keeps us from becoming the best version of ourselves. We're wired to belong and to be part of a group, of a community, to survive. So historically speaking, rejection could have meant that there's something wrong with us, that they're going to kick us out of the tribe and lead to death. And the reason I wanted to start with that is because when we realize this is a genetic thing in us, we're not like crazy people that are over worried about other people's approval. I've been there where I've just been so judgmental of myself, of like, why do I care what everyone thinks? But it's, oh, this is just part of human beings. Then I can look at it, be curious about it. And then I'm not driven by it. I'm not controlled by that fear of rejection. It's going to be something that's there. And I can feel that desire for approval from my children, from my partner, from my friends, from my family. And because I can give it permission to be there, it's normal human being stuff, then I can also move through it. So we're wired to belong. We're wired to be a part of a community because that led to the highest rate of survival. So we're programmed from a very young age, in addition to this, because we're all seeking this approval, to have this approval from other people. And approval lets us know we think we're on the right track or we're worthy. If someone says you did a great job, or if our children are appreciative of us, then we're doing a good job. We're doing a good job. So we become kind of approval junkies. And when we aren't getting approval, we spend a lot of time trying to get it. People pleasing. Sometimes in the psychology world, when they're talking about trauma, they'll talk about people pleasing as a trauma response. It's the fawning. If we are getting external approval, then it was reassuring our bodies we're safe. We don't want to continue the old framework of approval that is not helping us. Because when we aren't getting approval, like I said, we're spending time trying to get it. And we are either protecting ourselves by hiding or not doing something, or trying to do everything right for our kids so that they're happy and feel their approval of us. And so we start doing this funny like dance, and we're people pleasing, and it's a trauma response, not like necessarily big capital T trauma response, just like a trauma response. Let me define it really quickly, because I used to be completely confused about trauma responses. A trauma response in this setting is when our nervous system is activated. So we go into fight mode, flight mode, where we're running. So we're either fighting or running, fleeing. We're fawning, which is the people pleasing, or we're freezing, which is we just can't, we're almost immobile, where we're doing one of those things and we get stuck. We don't actually cycle all the way through the nervous system cycle and move through it. So when I'm using the word trauma, I'm saying that we're stuck. And in this situation, when we're trying to avoid rejection from our kids or even from ourselves, because we're using, they didn't do that. The kids didn't respond the way I was hoping, or the day didn't go the way it was supposed to go, or my partner didn't recognize all the hard work I've done, and we're not getting that external approval, then we can reject ourselves, which is using our nervous system against ourselves, which keeps us stuck in that spin cycle, which is like trauma cycle. We have these emotions in our bodies. So we want to just be aware of this. One, it's normal. Two, we want to be more intentional about it. So we don't want to be hiding or trying to create the perfect scenario for our kids so they never are disappointed, because that just isn't going to serve them or us the best. So this is widespread. It's a serious issue. If we want to learn and grow, if we want to become a Connect Method parent, if we want to evolve, then we've got to be aware of this, because anytime you create something, anytime you step out of the way you've been in the past, you risk rejection. You risk your kids thinking that was ridiculous, or why are you doing that? Or you risk losing their approval. And we often value approval over doing what we feel is most important in the world, because we don't want to take the risk. I'm trying to break that all down for us. This is a vague sense of rejection. It's very subjective. We don't need to define it or take responsibility for it if we want to overcome it. We just want to look at it. So many of us seek other people's approval. What we end up doing as parents is we simply reject ourselves. We simply live so small and we become something we aren't. We're not doing what we want to do with our kids because we don't want to feel that feeling of them thinking this isn't working. Or we ask them, hey, do you want to go do something with me? I want to connect with you. Let's go on a bike ride. They're like, no. that might be scary enough or feel terrible enough that if that happens once, we're not going to do it again. It's crazy. It makes no sense. But this is the spin many of us are in. It's biological. And the solution is to risk having some of that rejection by other people, but never rejecting ourselves, to be willing to have them say, no, I don't really want to go on a bike ride, or mom, I don't want to have you hang out with me, or I don't want to talk right now, or whatever it is. Not be grateful for the snacks you make for them when they come home from an activity or whatever it is. And to prioritize loving ourselves and honoring what I want to create for them, and be okay if today my brain might say they reject me. So when we can approve of ourselves first, this goes back to loving ourselves, what we were saying before with the self-confidence. When we approve ourselves first, we get so much more outside approval, right? Does that make sense? So yes, we want to be approved. Our brain's like, I need to be approved by other people, by my kids, by my spouse, by the world, by everyone. I want them to like me. And we do funny things to try to control their approval of us. When we approve of ourselves first, we're like, I'm going to be more present in the morning when the kids get up, even if they act like that's really annoying, or I'm going to change the way we do dinner time because I want more conversation. I'm going to have these questions I want to ask, or play these games with them, or whatever it is. And they might roll their eyes and be like, or just whatever it is, not be as excited as we were hoping. What I want to offer you is decide ahead of time, practice, you do some thought downloads, do some steers of how am I going to approve and validate myself despite what these other beautiful humans may or may not think. My brain might say they rejected this idea, and be okay with that. Because the more we approve ourselves, the more confident we are with ourselves, the more we will end up getting outside approval, because we'll be more confident, self-confident, and other people will want to follow us. And we're teaching them, we're the mirror, we're teaching them how we want them to treat us. So if we are treating ourselves with kindness and respect, if we're failing big time, failing, I use that word loosely, but if we're not doing showing up the way we want to, we yell at them, and we're honoring and being kind to ourselves and maybe apologizing to them and just treating ourselves with kindness and respect, we're able to treat them with better kindness and respect. And we're also teaching them how to treat themselves. I don't beat myself up when I mess up. I learn, I get curious. And our kids see that. And that's how I should be too. And especially as they get older, they start to see our pattern. And then we do it intentionally at the kitchen table. So they see us writing. What are you doing, Mom? I'm like, last night when I'm not happy how I acted around you. And I'm just writing about it because I really want to do better next time. And they're seeing that example. So feeling rejected is really no big deal. Imagine what it feels like to feel that feeling of rejection, to feel that feeling of like, oh, that sting if they don't want to do it, or that didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Think about the thought that it causes. Remember that rejection isn't something that happens to you and then you feel terrible. We have to believe that was actually rejection. One of my favorite illustrations of this, if you haven't seen this video, you can YouTube it, and I don't even know why I think someone showed me after the fact, but Elon Musk, I don't know, this was years ago, was demoing his new Cybertruck. And he was talking about how the windows were bulletproof or whatever. And then he had some guy demonstrate how strong they were by throwing a rock or something at it, and it broke. Like literally broke. This bulletproof window broke with a rock hitting it, which a normal window wouldn't even break on a car, wouldn't necessarily shatter. It was like shattered with a rock. So he's like, oh, that must have been a fluke. Let's do it again. Throws it on the back, on the back window, the passenger window, breaks again. I just love this example. My memory of it was he was contemplative and he said, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. We're going to figure this out. Not a problem. Can you imagine how much rejection you could feel? I'm going to be the laughing stock. All of this rejection he could have believed was going to happen externally. And then he could have rejected himself internally, but he didn't believe any of it. His thought was, we're going to figure this out. This isn't a problem. This doesn't mean this isn't going to work. And I think because of how he managed it, he just went forward. He just figured it out. And I thought that's a great example of someone who is very well-known. It was very public, not working situation, disappointing, failure, you could call it, right? Situation. And his thought about it was, we're going to figure it out. So I want you to remember that it's the thought that causes it. And it might be a subconscious thought. So don't think I should be thinking better thoughts about it. Then that's the solution. No, there's a beautiful process of recognizing and getting curious and doing thought downloads and steers and validating yourself and getting intentional about how you want to believe about this situation or about rejection as a whole, and then moving through it and creating a different way of believing about what's possible for you as far as external validation, and deciding you're just going to give it to yourself. That creates that path to it. But seeing My thought is that if I fail in front of people, then that's it. That's a good thought to notice so that you can change it. You got to see it before you can do anything about it. So his thought was something I get to decide what failure is or not, or this isn't a problem. We're going to fix it. This isn't failure. This is just normal. As you're innovating and creating things, things don't always go as planned. And so I just want you to think about what are your thoughts that are causing you to feel terrible or rejected. Notice them so that you can start inspecting them with so much love and curiosity. Because have you ever been rejected where it didn't hurt at all? That's the Elon Musk thing. I'm sure people were like totally rejecting his truth about the bulletproof windows, about his car, the truck, the way it looked. Like so many people were making statements publicly about it and judging him. It didn't appear from what it looked like that was hurting him at all. And that can be the case for us too, where someone's rejected us or said something that could have been taken as a rejection. It didn't hurt at all. Or someone tried to make you feel rejected and it didn't work. So this proves my point that rejection is a feeling that's caused by a thought. And I want you to notice the vibration and how it feels. This is no big deal. Is that running our life? Or is it like, this is a big deal and I'm defined by it, or this is terrible? So if someone rejects you and you never have to feel rejected, what would you be able to create with your kids? Like if you could try different things and try to do maybe some one-on-one connection time with them, or ask your teenager if they'd go to lunch with you, or whatever it is that you're trying to get into proactively create more connection, deeper relationship, ways you're going to respond in the moment. If you were able to look at all of those and be, I'm just going to try this week and see how it goes. And it's no big deal if it works. It's either going to work or it's not going to work. And a strategic byproduct of whatever happens is going to be amazing and get me even closer to where I want to be with my kids. So if you can get to that place where it's no big deal, what would you be able to create if you didn't have to fear rejection? So here's some questions. I want you to think of a time where you have felt rejected or judged. And I want you to write that down. And I want you to get really clear on what were you thinking when you felt that rejection. And this could be something with another adult or with your kids. I tried to have movie night with them and I had all of these plans and then nobody wanted to do movie night. The teenagers wanted to go out with their friends or the toddlers were just not into it. So what did you think about it that caused that feeling of rejection? What exactly did it feel like in your body sensorially? So you're going to have, you have the thought and then you felt rejected. Where did you feel that rejection in your body? Was it in your chest? Was it in your stomach? Was it in your neck? Was it in your shoulders? Did you tense up right here? I want you to get so good at recognizing what you're feeling in your body. I like to think of our bodies as our unconscious minds manifesting or presenting what's happening subconsciously. So we want to become really familiar. We want to be able to read that conversation our body's having with us. It's trying to tell us something. So who are you now? So that's in retrospect. What are you wanting to do that you are maybe holding back because you're not sure it's going to work or they're not going to like this idea? So write that down. And then I want you to think about what would you make it mean if they didn't like it? They rejected you. What would that mean to you? And then what I want you to ask yourself next is what ways are you rejecting yourself? Because typically when we're afraid someone else is going to reject us, it's because we're that close to rejecting ourselves in the same way. They're not going to think it's a good idea. And part of me doesn't think it's a good idea. So there's this mirroring going on. And are you afraid of being too successful? This is more with another adult. Are you afraid of being too successful and being rejected? Like this could be with parenting too. It's like, if I'm like just doing this perfect job, I don't want people to think I'm arrogant. I don't want them to think you're too perfect of a parent because then they might not get me or they might judge me or whatever. If there's anything of that going on, think about that. Another question, what would be a good plan for yourself if it did go down and you got rejected, if they didn't like it? And how could you prevent making it mean something that caused a feeling of rejection? So back to the Elon Musk example, I don't know if he thought about it ahead of time for that particular scenario of like, if the car window breaks or the truck window breaks, then I'm going to believe this about it so I don't feel rejected. Probably in general, he was in this confident place about the whole project or whatever the case is. What I want you to take away from that is I want you to get specific about one thing. And if things didn't go as planned, what are you going to make it mean instead of I'm a failure or not validating yourself or feeling rejected? And the final one is, what would you do if you didn't need the approval? You didn't need the validation, the approval of anybody else. Hopefully you're applying this to a situation with your kids. If you want to up-level something with your kids, or you've been putting forth this effort to create a deeper connection or conversation, or you want to play with them and it feels like it's not coming back at you. You may be feeling a little resentful or a little frustrated or a little rejected. What if you didn't need them to give you this feedback for you to feel really satisfied and have that approval for yourself? Think about that. Okay. If you were at the end of your life, you were looking back and you were able to say, like, that was a life well lived. What would that life look like? How would you describe it? Have you even thought about this? Because sometimes we get so stuck in the day to day, we don't think about it. Do we have a plan? What is the point of this parenting stuff we're doing? What if this was just an adventure? What's important to you? What do you want to create? What do you want to say? What do you want to add? What do you want to change? What do you want to try? We know that all of us, unfortunately, at the end of our lives, that we're going to move on, we're going to die, something else is going to happen. So what do you want to do in the meantime? I want you to take some time and write about this. It's the perfect finale to what we've been talking about today, the self-confidence, feeling self-validation and approval and not needing it externally, getting to that place. It could hurt if we don't have the approval of the people who matter most to us. It can feel really hard. What are we going to start to do today to, one, validate that is really hard? If we're not getting the approval from our kids or our spouse or our family, whoever it is, that I really want their approval. I really want them to not reject me. I really want them to help me with my confidence. Like, what I want to challenge us each to do is, if I can't change anyone outside of me, which is the truth of life, much to our dismay, what am I going to do with my life in the meantime? What do I want to do internally that will help me be more loving externally? Because if we are frustrated or resentful that our kids or our husbands or our partners or our parents aren't giving us that validation, that approval, that love that we want from them, then we're going to feel stuck. If we don't have the ability, which a lot of times I will say, the more we love and more we approve ourselves, the more approval we start getting from other people, the more confident we are, the more people outside of us want to follow and build us up. So there is this reciprocal thing. But I want you to think about, if you could just show up the way you wanted to and love the other person. When someone else is struggling to love us, to approve us, when our kids are rolling their eyes or giving us an attitude, when other humans are being not as kind or loving or validating as we would like them to be, or as we even know they possibly are, their potential is, that to me is an indication that their nervous system is triggered, that they're struggling a lot. And so I put my attention on that and loving and appreciating that they're hurting. For you to treat another person like that, or for you to have that, big of an attitude, that must not feel good. So I think about that. And then I focus back on, like, how can I love them? How can I love me? So I want you to write about that. So here are some things I just want to leave you with. My life manifesto, or what matters to me, is I want to blow my own mind. I want to be at the end of my life and be like, man, that was amazing. Not arrogantly, but just really appreciatively of, like, I'm really grateful and I love what I did. I want to be an example of what's possible. I want to do the impossible. I want to keep growing and learning over and over throughout my life. I want to prove that the capacity we have to create anything we want possible. I want to prove that for myself. I want to be an example of that to you guys. I want to be an example of that to my children, that when we are being kind and considerate and not judging ourselves, when we're believing people are doing the best they can, that we can create anything we want in our life. All of the things that happen to us, the good, bad, ugly, fantastic, terrible, are all potentially catalysts for our growth when we're in a place of love and abundance. I want to be an example of life being 50-50 and not being a problem. I want to test my own limits. I want to be the opposite of ordinary. I want to question everything. I want to learn and grow no matter what. I want to lead myself and other people to new discoveries. I want to serve humans in any way and help them become the most loving people they possibly can and hit their capacity, their fullest capacity. I want to have fun, take risks. I want to be uncomfortable on purpose for the purpose of creating a big purpose in my life. I want to do that intentionally and fight against that innate desire in me to stay comfortable. I want to do it on purpose. I'm going to create something different with my family. I want to do the things I want to do with my kids. I want to show up more loving and patient no matter what they do. I want to be uncomfortable on purpose. I want to be loving. I want to be loud and big and inspiring. I want to have epic wins. And with that comes epic losses. I want to create. I want to live an interesting life. I want to live the life that I want to live and not by the boundaries of a society of what I should be doing. I want to die knowing I gave it all. I don't want to hide it or keep it to myself. I don't want to be afraid of stepping out, even if somebody's like, that's the craziest idea. I want to let people judge me and let them be wrong about me. This includes my kids. Sometimes it includes other people, anybody. I want to do what feels right to me. And if people judge me, they can be wrong about me. I want to have my own back, validate, affirm, love, have so much compassion for myself. And in the end, I want to give myself a high five because I lived for me. I want to own my life. So I gave you an example of some beliefs. And yeah, now this is, I want to be blown away. My life was amazing. I love that so much. I want you guys to take some time. You guys had a lot of homework out of this call. So I hope you'll either go back and re-listen to this so that you can do the work, pause and do the work along the way. But the last bit of homework today is I want you to write your own human life manifesto for yourself. It's what I just shared of mine. I want you to write that for yourself so that you can go create exactly what you want in your life. You guys, anything is possible for you. Being a Connect Method parent makes you into a Connect Method person where you're connecting and you're growing and you're becoming and evolving into the most loving, kind, compassionate, empathetic self version of yourself every single day. And it just will continue to up level. You'll hit a new level and you'll be able to blow your own mind a little bit more here and blow your own mind a little bit more here and not be restricted by the way you used to believe about yourself or the way you used to be or the way society told you or your parents told you or whatever messages you got from wherever about who you were or what you were capable of. I want you to live so much bigger and broader than that. And I love that parenting gives us this chance to, I think it's one of the best classrooms we can all be in right now, to become that person because our kids are here. They're here for a purpose. I think just it's not a mistake. We have the kids we have and they're here and we can't avoid the children. So they're there constantly helping us learn how to navigate our nervous system, learn how to be kind and compassionate, learn how to be patient and all of the other things that go with it. So I'm so grateful that all of us are here having these conversations about how to become the best version of ourselves so that we can become the best parent that we possibly can. So take some time this week, do this work. The questions will be posted under the replay and we'll talk to you guys all soon. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Thanks, guys. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, you're going to want to check out the 8-week parenting pivot, which is the first phase of my program, the League of Extraordinarily Connected Parents. We're opening up a new round in October. So if you're listening to this live, it's going to be October 7th. If you're listening to this and that date has passed, go check out the website, connectmethodparenting.com, and we'll list the next time we're opening. But if you're listening to this live, go check it out because you can already apply and get accepted into the next round so that you can lock yourself in place to have a huge shift with your kids, to get them to want to listen to you. Which is very different than using punishments, rewards, timeouts, ultimatums to get them to listen to you. We want it to be more cooperative. We want better listening. We want a great relationship and we want to have a ton of fun when we're parenting. So if that's what you want, if what I talked about in this episode resonated, jump over to cmp.works/pivot. I'll put the link in the show notes as well and find out more about the pivot, apply to join, and we'll let you know if you get in. All right. Until next time, go connect with your kids, have a blast, and pop back in for another episode soon about how to use connection, not correction, to get your kids to want to listen to you. See you later. Bye.